Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really stripping everything back. We are looking at the actual engine room of reality. And I want to start with a question that I think haunts a lot of you, usually at 3 in the morning when you're just staring at the ceiling. Why doesn't the positive thinking stuff actually work?
Right. It's the million-dollar
Mm.
question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because on paper, I mean, it sounds so incredibly easy.
It does, and we've all been there. You buy the self-help book, you write the affirmations on the bathroom mirror stuff like, I am successful, I am a loved, I am a billionaire, and you say it while you brush your teeth. You try to basically brute force your brain into a new reality, but then you walk out the door, get into traffic, get to work, and your life is exactly the same as it was yesterday.
And then you feel like a failure. You think, well, I must not be thinking hard enough. I need to post more notes. I need to visualize harder.
Exactly. It feels like you're doing all the reps, but you're just not getting the muscle. And the material we're unpacking today for this deep dive suggests that we have been fundamentally misled about how the machine works. The premise here is that we are trying to change the course of a massive cruise ship by paddling with a plastic spoon.
That is a perfect analogy. The core thesis we're looking at involves a complete shift in mechanics. We need to stop looking at the universe like a wishing well where you throw in a coin, which is a thought, and just hope for a wish. We need to look at it like a mechanical system of physics and vibration. And here is the headline that might honestly upset some people.
Lay it on us.
The universe essentially ignores what you think. It only listens to what you feel.
Which, I have to be honest, is a slightly terrifying concept if you're someone who is prone to anxiety or, catastrophic thinking. Because if my thoughts don't matter, but my terrified feelings do, am I just manifesting my own nightmares?
It definitely can feel that way initially, but it's actually the key to the cage. If we can understand the mechanics, the literal physics of thought versus emotion, we stop wasting time honking the horn and actually start driving the car.
Okay, so let's get under the hood. Our mission today is to figure out this physics. The sources for this deep dive use a lot of really specific terminology to explain this. Things like the frequency hierarchy, the lake, the pendulum. I want to start with this hierarchy because it finally puts a number on why my sticky note affirmations aren't working.
Right. So we have to start with the premise that absolutely everything is energy. And that's not just spirituality anymore. That's just quantum mechanics. Everything vibrates. And in this model, different internal states have different signal strengths. They just aren't created equal.
Yeah, and they actually assigned numerical values to this in the text, which I found really helpful because I'm kind of a data person.
They did.
Yeah.
So imagine a hierarchy of power. At the top, or rather, the lightest, weakest level, you have a thought. The text suggests a thought has a transmission power of roughly a 2.
A 2. That's barely a blip.
It's a very weak electrical signal. It's fleeting. You have thousands of them a day. I need to buy milk. I hope it doesn't rain. I am a millionaire. These are light. They don't have mass. They are like wisps of smoke.
Okay. But then we move down the hierarchy to emotion.
Yes. The source material defines emotion essentially as concentrated thought. It is thought that has been compressed, densified, and given actual mass. If a thought is a 2, an emotion is a 20.
Wow.
It is 10 times more powerful in terms of the magnetic signal it broadcasts out to the system.
So let's go back to the bathroom mirror. When I'm standing there saying, I am wealthy, that's a thought. That's a 2.
Correct. That's the wisp of smoke.
But if, while I'm saying it, my stomach is in absolute knots because I'm terrified I can't pay rent next week.
That fear is the emotion. That is the 20. So you have a tug of war happening. You have a tiny little 2 pulling in one direction with, I am wealthy, and a massive heavy 20 pulling in the other direction with, I am terrified of poverty. Who wins?
The 20 wins. The fear wins.
Every single time. The system doesn't speak English. It speaks frequency. It feels the weight of the signal. It hears the scream of the fear, not the whisper of the affirmation.
That makes so much sense of that experience where you feel like you're just lying to yourself. You're saying the positive thing, but your body is screaming, no, we're not, and the universe is listening to the body.
Precisely. And this leads to what they call the creation loop. A thought is really just a seed. What if I get sick? That's a thought. If you just let it pass, it dissolves. It has no mass. But what do we usually do with a scary thought?
Oh, we fixate on it. We Google the symptoms. We replay the worst-case scenario while we're in the shower.
Exactly. We feed it. We water it. And as we give it attention, it creates a physiological response. Your heart rate goes up. Your stomach tightens. Your palms sweat. Now, you have converted that light electrical thought into a heavy chemical emotion. You've turned a 2 into a 20. And once it's a 20, it's a broadcast signal. It starts attracting a reality that matches that exact frequency.
So we are basically walking radio towers, but we're broadcasting our fears much louder than our hopes because the fears are visceral, they're heavy.
Exactly. And this brings us to the next big piece of the puzzle. Because you might hear this and say, okay, fine, I get it. I'll just change my feelings then. I'll just feel wealthy.
Right. Just feel better. Thanks, I'm cured. Which is honestly the worst advice ever.
If only it were that easy.
Hmm.
The problem is, most of our feelings aren't even ours. Or at least they aren't current, they are very old. And this is where the subconscious lake metaphor comes in. This part is vital for understanding why we get so stuck.
I loved this visual from the reading, although I have to say it's a little bit gross.
It is a bit gross, but it's incredibly accurate. Imagine your subconscious mind is a deep, vast lake. Now, from the ages of 0 to 7, the programming years, you were a sponge. You had absolutely no filter. You absorbed codes from your parents, your environment, the world. Money is hard to get. You aren't good enough. Don't trust people. Love is painful.
And because we were just kids, we didn't have the logic to reject those ideas. We just swallowed them.
We swallowed them whole. And those heavy, dense emotions, the guilt, the shame, the unworthiness, they didn't disappear. They sank. They settled at the very bottom of the lake, like thick, heavy algae or moss.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. You look at the surface of the lake today, and it looks totally clear. You think, hey, I'm fine. I'm a positive person. I'm a highly functional adult. But that algae at the bottom, it creates your default magnetic field. It is humming in the background 24/7, broadcasting that signal of unworthiness or lack at a frequency of 20 without you even realizing it.
This explains why we self-sabotage so much, why you finally get the big promotion and then immediately feel like an imposter, or why you start a great relationship and then pick a fight out of nowhere. It's the algae.
Is the algae. You are trying to swim to a new destination. Success, love, peace. But you are anchored to the bottom by this magnetic moss.
Now, this connects to something really interesting in the notes about the current state of the world, because I think a lot of you listening, and I definitely include myself here, feel like things are particularly shaky right now. Maybe it's a spike in anxiety, maybe it's random physical aches and pains, or just a general sense that the world is chaotic. The source material frames this in a really unique way that connects back to the lake.
It does. It reframes this turbulence completely. Instead of seeing it as things going wrong or bad luck, the source suggests that the energetic system we live in is currently increasing in resonance. It's vibrating faster. Essentially, the lake is being shaken.
And if you shake a lake that has mud and moss settled at the bottom,
The moss rises to the top, the water gets cloudy, the stuff that was hidden becomes visible. This is crucial for anyone feeling anxious right now to understand. You aren't regressing, you aren't failing at life. The system is shaking you to force that hidden algae up to the surface.
because you can't clean what you can't see.
Bingo. It's a systemic detox. It feels terrible. It feels like panic or grief or old trauma suddenly popping up for literally no reason, but it's actually a mechanism of clearing. The system is trying to get you to look at the muck so you can finally scoop it out and reach a higher, lighter frequency.
That is a massive reframe. It changes I'm having a breakdown into I'm having a clearing.
It changes everything. It turns the pain into progress.
But, and here's the hard part, once the moss is up, we have to actually deal with it. We can't just stare at it. And this leads us to the section on duality and the pendulum. Because I think my instinct when I feel bad or when I see the moss is to try and force myself to feel good. I want to swing to the other side immediately.
And that is the trap. The source material warns heavily against what we might call toxic positivity or the desperate chase for happiness.
Why, though? I mean, who doesn't want to be happy? That sounds really counterintuitive.
It's about the physics of a dualistic world. We live in a 3D reality defined by opposites. Up and down, light and dark, hot and cold. You literally can't have one without the other. Think of a pendulum. If you pull a pendulum all the way up to the right, let's call that extreme euphoria or desperate desire, what happens when you let go?
It has to swing back. Gravity takes over.
Physics dictates it absolutely must swing back to the left with equal force. So the harder you chase the high, the deeper the crash. If you are screaming, "I must be happy," you are actually emphasizing the lack of happiness. You are creating a potential energy that will swing back into sadness or disappointment.
So if chasing the high creates the low, what is the goal? Are we supposed to just be flat? Just kind of emotional zombies?
No, not zombies. But the goal isn't the extreme swing. The goal is the center, the 0 point
Neutrality.
neutrality. I have to be honest, that sounds a little boring. Like I have no strong feelings one way or the other. It doesn't sound very alive. It sounds boring to the ego because the ego loves drama. The ego loves the swing, it loves the highs, and it secretly loves the lows because they give us an identity. But neutrality is where the actual power is. Think of it as stability. It's the eye of the storm. It's where you aren't being tossed around by external events.
Can we use a real-world example here? Because neutrality is really hard to picture in the heat of the moment. The notes mentioned road rage.
Perfect example. Let's break it down mechanically. You are driving, someone cuts you off, they're dangerous, rude, total jerk. Immediately, what happens in your body?
Heat. My chest tightens, my knuckles turn white, I want to yell.
Right. The thermometer's going up. The pendulum is starting to swing hard toward anger. Now, most of us just let it swing. We honk, we scream, we tailgate. We carry that anger all the way into the office.
Oh yeah, I tell 3 people about it when I get to work. I relive the whole thing.
Exactly. And by doing that, you are feeding the algae. You are taking that single event and giving it mass. You are broadcasting conflict at a frequency of 20. And because the universe is a mechanical mirror, which we'll get to in a second, it says, oh, you want conflict. Okay. And suddenly, your boss yells at you. You spill your coffee. You attract more things to be angry about because you are tuned to the anger channel.
So what does the master do, the person who actually understands the physics?
The master notices the rise. They feel the chemical rush of anger because they are human, but they don't engage with it. They don't pull the pendulum. They say, okay, that happened, and they return to neutral.
That happened. Not that jerk or how dare he, just that happened.
It's the is state. It is what it is.
Yeah.
By staying neutral, you kill the signal. You don't broadcast the anger so the system doesn't queue up a bad day for you. You completely stop the chain reaction.
That takes a staggering amount of self-control. It feels almost impossible to do in the moment.
It takes awareness. It takes realizing that if you engage, you are just a passenger on a ride you don't want to be on. If you stay neutral, you are the driver. You're deciding not to crash your car just because someone else swerved.
This idea of being a driver versus a passenger brings us to the most confronting part of this research. I mean, this is the part that might make some of you want to turn off the deep dive right now because it's incredibly uncomfortable.
Mirror theory.
Yeah, the reflection theory. The idea that the people in our lives, especially the ones who drive us crazy, our partners, our bosses, they aren't just independent people being annoying. They are literal mirrors reflecting our own subconscious moss.
This is definitely the toughest pill to swallow. Because
Okay.
we love to blame. My husband makes me feel ignored. My boss makes me feel small. It feels so true. It feels like they are the problem.
It feels objectively true. If my boss yells at me, he is yelling. I'm not imagining it. He's being a jerk.
He's a yelling. But the question the source material poses is, why is he in your movie? Why are you in the room with a yeller? The theory suggests that the universe is incredibly efficient. It doesn't waste energy. If you have a deep-seated, unresolved frequency of, I am small, or I deserve to be punished, buried in your lake.
The algae of unworthiness.
Yes. If that is broadcasting, the system must send you a match. It essentially hires an actor to play the role of the tyrant or the critic.
Wait, hires an actor? That makes it sound like a conspiracy, like we're in the Truman Show.
Think of it like a play. You wrote the script with your vibration. You sent out a casting call for someone to make me feel small, and your boss walked in and got the part. He is fulfilling a role to show you what is inside you.
So let me get this straight. If I am constantly surrounded by people who disrespect me, it's not just bad luck. It's because I am broadcasting a frequency of disrespect me.
That is the theory. The source material even uses the term biological robot to describe how people function in these interactions.
Yeah, let's unpack biological robot. Because that sounds super dehumanizing. Are we saying people don't have free will?
We are saying that most of the time we aren't using it. We tend to think we are conscious agents making choices, but 95% of the time we are running on scripts. We are chemical addicts.
Addicts, like addicted to drugs.
Addicted to emotions. Remember, emotions are chemicals, peptides. If your baseline from childhood was chaos or rejection or drama, your cells actually become addicted to the cortisol and adrenaline of those specific states.
So we physically crave the bad feelings.
Our bodies do. We might consciously say, I want peace, but our body is saying, where is my fix of chaos?
Yeah.
I haven't had a fight in 3 days. So we subconsciously attract partners or situations that push our buttons. We hire the actors who know exactly how to trigger a specific chemical addiction.
Yeah.
We are robots running a program.
That is really humbling and a little disturbing, honestly. It means my arguments aren't even real. They're just my body looking for a fix.
It is disturbing, but it's also the most empowering thing you can learn. Because if you hire the actors,
You can fire them.
you can fire them. but not by yelling at them. You can't fire the mirror for showing you that you have spinach in your teeth. So you have to clean your teeth. You fire them by changing the script.
Okay, so how do we do that? Practically speaking. I'm in the heat of the moment. My partner is doing that exact thing that drives me crazy. My chemicals are firing. How do I change the script? The notes call for something called emotion professionalism.
I love this term. Emotion professionalism. Think about it. Most of us are complete amateurs at feeling. We are sloppy. We say, I feel bad, I'm upset, I'm stressed.
It's vague. It's like going to a doctor and just saying, I hurt.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
can't cure hurt, you need a diagnosis.
Hmm.
Emotion professionalism requires you to stop, look at the rising sensation, and name it with forensic precision.
So not I'm mad.
No, you look inward and say, this isn't just anger, this is fear of abandonment, or
Mm.
this is guilt about not being productive, or this is jealousy because I feel unworthy.
Why does the specific name matter so much? Why can't I just know that I'm angry and let that be enough?
Because the moment you name the root, you separate from it. This is the magic trick. You go from being the emotion to observing the emotion. You step out of the character and become the audience.
You're standing on the shore looking at the algae instead of drowning in the lake.
Yes. You say, I see you fear. And you look at it without judgment. You don't try to shove it down. You don't try to sugarcoat it with positive thinking. You just observe it. Ah, there's that feeling again.
And doing that stops the feeding process.
That cuts the power completely. You are no longer watering the plant. You are no longer generating that 20 strength signal. You are just watching it pass. And if you do this consistently, if you stop feeding the I am a victim frequency, something wild happens in your external world.
The actors change?
They have to. The physics demands it.
Yeah.
If you stop broadcasting the signal that cues your boss to be a jerk, one of two things will happen. One, he will suddenly inexplicably change his behavior toward you. He'll stop yelling. It'll be like he literally forgot the script.
Because the hook isn't there in you anymore?
Right. Or two, he will exit your reality. He'll get transferred, or you'll get a new job, or he'll quit. The system simply cannot maintain a connection between two mismatched frequencies. If you change, the scenery must change.
That puts the responsibility so squarely back in our laps. It's almost annoying. I can't blame anyone anymore.
It's the ultimate responsibility. It means nobody is doing anything to you. They're doing things for you to show you what you need to clean up inside.
It turns the whole world into a classroom.
A classroom, or even a video game. You clear the level by clearing the emotion. Once you clear the guilt level, you stop meeting people who make you feel guilty. You level up.
So to bring this all together, for someone listening who feels completely stuck right now, the message here isn't think harder.
No. The message is feel deeper. Stop trying to cover up the mud with whipped cream. Stop forcing positive thoughts over negative vibrations.
The whipped cream on a mud pie analogy is really staying with me. It's disgusting.
It's gross. But it works. You have to acknowledge the mud. When the world shakes, when you feel that anxiety rising, don't run from it. Don't numb it with scrolling or distraction. Turn toward it. Name it. Say, there's the algae. Thank you for showing me.
It sounds like work. It sounds like deeply uncomfortable work.
It is the hardest work there is. It's much easier to just call your ex a narcissist to move on. But that just ensures you'll date another one because you haven't changed the underlying frequency. The real work is inward.
I want to leave all of you listening with a challenge, something to actually test this week. Because we can talk about physics all day long, but you have to test it in the lab of your own life.
I have one, and it's a tough one.
Lay it on us.
Identify the antagonist in your movie right now. The person who annoys, hurts, or frustrates you the absolute most.
Okay. I have a name in mind. I'm sure everyone listening does too.
Now, instead of replaying what they did wrong, ask yourself this. What specific, secret feeling of yours, what algae at the bottom of your lake does this person force you to feel?
Do they make you feel incompetent, invisible, unlovable?
Find that exact feeling. Because that person has been hired by the universe to show it to you. They are your custom-made mirror. If you can identify the feeling, you can heal it. And if you feel it, you can fire the actor.
That is a heavy but incredibly hopeful note to end on. It's physics, not magic.
It's just physics.
Thank you for guiding us through the mechanics today. This was fascinating.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
And thank you to everyone for deep diving with us. Check your mirrors, check your frequency, and we'll see you next time.